His legacy is so huge that in Kerala, India, he's known as a Malayali accidentally born in Germany. So today we're going to dive into the incredible life of Hermann Gundert, a man whose passion for language literally built a bridge between two completely different worlds.
I mean, that's a title of immense respect and affection, right? An inside joke told a whole continent away from where he was born. So the big question is, how on earth did a German scholar from the 19th century earn such a unique honor from millions of people in southern India? Well, Gundert's work literally shaped the modern Malayalam language, which is spoken by over 38 million people today. He didn't just, study it from afar. He got in there and helped build its very foundation.
So what set him on this path? Let's trace the pretty extraordinary journey that took a young theologian all the way from Stuttgart to the shores of southern India, where he would end up dedicating his life to a language he hadn't even heard yet.
So right from the get-go, Gundert had this incredible talent for languages. At his seminary, he mastered all the classics, but get this, his curiosity was just getting started. While he was stuck in London waiting for his ship to India, he just casually started learning Bengali and Sanskrit. And that, right there, would end up defining his entire life's work. And the journey to India? That was a classroom in itself. The long sea voyage wasn't downtime for him. Nope, he spent that time learning even more languages, picking up Hindustani and Telugu from other people on the ship. By the time he finally landed in Madras, he was already diving headfirst into the rich linguistic tapestry of India. Okay, so Gundert gets to India, and he doesn't just visit, he makes it his home. For more than 2 decades, he completely immersed himself in the culture, the life, and of course, the language of the Malabar region.
Yeah, 23 years. Let that sink in for a second. He spent almost a quarter of a century in India, from 1836 to 1859. This wasn't some quick academic trip. This was his life.
And his impact went way beyond religion. The guy was basically a social innovator. He started some of the very first schools that were open to both boys and girls. He brought in new European medicines, and he even set up printing presses to actually publish local works in history, giving them a voice they hadn't had before. And you know what? This wasn't a solo mission. His wife, Julie, was right there with him. I mean, their partnership was absolutely key to all of this. She shared his vision completely, running schools for girls and managing their home, and their decision to stay in India was a pact they made together.
But wow, his time in India was anything but easy. He was constantly battling health problems, everything from liver issues to times when he literally lost his voice. He dealt with fires, serious money problems, and the absolute heartbreak of losing close friends to disease. And yet, through all of that, he just kept going.
So it's in the middle of all these struggles that he starts what would become his greatest legacy, becoming the architect of a modern language.
I mean, think about this for a moment. He didn't just study the language, he built new platforms for it. By starting the very first newspapers in Malayalam, he basically helped kickstart journalism in the region and brought the written language to everyday people in a totally new and accessible way. You can think of it like this. He basically built the 3 main pillars for the modern language. First, he wrote its first ever comprehensive grammar book, giving it a solid structure. Then, he collected 1,000 local proverbs to preserve the culture's wisdom. And finally, the big one. He compiled the first major Malayalam English dictionary, a project that was just, wow, a massive, massive undertaking.
And when you look at these milestones laid out, you can really see his plan taking shape over decades. This wasn't just him dabbling here and there. He was systematically, piece by piece, building an entire literary and linguistic foundation for a whole culture.
So after 23 years, in 1859, Gundert's health got so bad he had to go back to Germany. But believe me, his story and his influence, they were far from over.
And this just shows you his passion went way beyond just one language. The collection of works he brought back with him to Germany was an absolute treasure trove of South Indian literature. Manuscripts in Malayalam, Kannada, Sanskrit, Tamil, you name it. The man was a true Indologist, through and through.
And the thing is, he never stopped working. He spent the next 3 decades back in his German hometown of Calv, running a publishing house and meticulously finishing the huge projects he'd started in India, especially his masterpiece, the dictionary.
But here's where the story takes a really unexpected turn. It happens in the year 1877, long after he had to leave India.
Yes, that Hermann Hesse. Yep, the very same Hermann Hesse who would go on to write world-famous classics like Siddhartha and Steppenwolf. The Nobel Prize winner was Hermann Gundert's grandson. So think about it. Gundert's library, just packed with all these books and philosophies and stories from India, that was the world his grandson grew up in. Hesse was deeply influenced by his grandfather's connection to Indian thought. And that influence, well, it famously shaped his career and eventually led him to win the Nobel Prize in Literature. And the story doesn't even end there. His work is still a living, breathing resource. There's this incredible digital project called the Gundert Portal, and it's preserving his entire collection, making all of this incredible work available to anyone, anywhere in the world.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's really how one person's intense passion can ripple out and create a legacy that doesn't just cross continents, but spans generations, from a 19th century dictionary all the way to a 20th century Nobel Prize. You know, Gundert's life is just this amazing reminder that sometimes the biggest changes, the most important contributions, they come from outsiders, from people who dare to look beyond their own world with a whole lot of respect, dedication, and just endless curiosity.